Hello, everybody, and welcome to the beginning of my story. You know, in the introductory video that I said that I was going to take this journey in my safe place with serenity. However, I felt today should be a little different. And so we're starting my story in the place where the beginning of the end for me began, at the cemetery with my mom. So, let me set this down here. If it falls, I'm sorry. Yes, Chris, I know. I should have taken some production chips. It's whatever. It's fine. So I thought this would be a good place. Number one, because I was looking for quiet. And turns out when I got up here, the cemeteries are normally not busy, but today it was. So I've kind of been sitting here talking with my mom and trying to figure out exactly what was going to be said. Again, I'm not scripted. So bear with me. This is me. I've never taken acting classes. I don't do public speaking. I don't know how many times I have to explain that one. But I also have done a lot of thinking on how I wanted this to go, and I'm still not sure. Was I going to tell my whole story all at once? Was I going to do it in pieces? I don't know. So I guess we'll see how this goes and where it takes us. So let's get started, shall we? My goodness, there's been a lot of people looking forward to this video, so I haven't been. I can't even lie about that, which is why it's been longer than I initially wanted it to be. I wanted it to be a week and a half before I posted this video, but I couldn't wrap my head around it. Wasn't real sure how we were going to begin, but I've chosen this spot, and this is where we're going to start. So, July 28th, 2013. It's a day that will forever be a big part of me, and not always in a bad way. So, I know some people, they say, and I know I do it. Don't look forward to the first anniversary of anything, especially when they're bad memories. But over time, you can take those dates and you can create some good memories. And not because you forget the significance of what that day meant to you, but because you want to add to the happy times, add to the happy moments. But so 6 years ago, on July 28th, I was in a hospital with my mother, watching her die. I had promised her that I wouldn't do that. And for 3 days, that's basically what we all did. We sat around her hospital bed talking about memories and things like that. And the day that she actually passed away, see, I knew it. I was going to drop it. I'm so sorry. The day that she actually passed away, I was sitting there. I was torn between, wanting to be home with my kids because they were suffering and they were struggling, but they didn't want to see their grandma like that in a hospital. And I don't want them either to. I didn't want that as our last memory. And they didn't want to. I wasn't going to make them. It is what it was. I sat there and I found myself starting to count her respirations. And even though I promised her I wouldn't do it, I promised her that life would not stop and everything would continue on and carry on as normal. That woman, I swear, she didn't want anyone to have anything upside down. Nothing. So about 10 o'clock, I had finally decided that I was going to go home. I think it was around 10. It could have been earlier than that. I'm a little fuzzy on that part of it. I went and got my kids, took them home, and decided I was going to spend it with them, snuggling and whatnot. And at 12:54 in the morning, my phone rings. I knew before I ever answered it. It was my dad. And all he could get out was that Mom was gone. And of course, because I don't know why people react this way, and my response was, what? which prompted him to repeat himself. And not that I needed him to, because I heard what he said the first time. I heard it loud and clear, but he said it again for the second time, and I broke. So one and only time, well, not twice. I think I cried twice. That day, all day, telling my kids, being around my family, talking about funerals and calling my job and all those kinds of things, and then the day of her funeral. And then after that, I just got angry. She was only 55. She was supposed to see my kids graduate. She was supposed to see her great grandkids be born. She was supposed to be there. To understand a little bit, like, everybody has one person who is, I don't want to say more significant, because it's kind of a diss to people, and apparently this be like, anyway, let's hope I don't get stung, okay? Because you're going to see me have to call 911. Anyway, nothing ever goes as planned, right? My mom was a saint, and I fully believe, and I tell people this all the time, and for anyone who never met my mom, kind of looks at me like I'm a little crazy, but I really think that she was an angel in human form. That woman, and I tell you, she was the example. She was the example of unconditional love, and no matter what you did, what you said, how much trouble you got into, no matter whether she was disappointment, sad, mad, or indifferent, she still loved you, and you knew it. You could meet her for the very first time, and she'd make you feel like home. You were family. She'd take care of you. She would take you in. She would give you the last dollar out of her wallet, even if she needed it. It wouldn't matter, because she felt like you would need it more, and she'd figure it out. And that's just who she was. But more important, she was an everyday piece of my life that was now gone. Every time I was mad, sad, happy, no matter what it was, I'd call her or text her. The day she learned how to text, my goodness, let me tell you, my phone never stopped blowing up. And then she got a Facebook. That was a whole new monster. So she knew when I was at work that if I was with a patient or I was busy, I couldn't answer my phone. And so if I didn't answer her phone call, she would text me. If I didn't answer the text message, she would Facebook message me. And this would go on and continue all day long until I got a chance to say, Mom, I'm fine. Everything's okay. I will call you in a little bit. It's just who she was. Checking on everybody, always putting everyone before herself. And every milestone in my life included my mom. Everyone. She was my biggest cheerleader, my biggest support. But I wasn't always the best kid. And I struggled with that after she died. I had a lot of regret not being there with her when she took her last breaths, not being able to be a support for my dad or my grandfather or any of my other family members for that matter, my kids even. Like, I couldn't help them. I shut down. My mom dying was the beginning of me digging the black hole that you find yourself in. And for some of you right now are there. You're either halfway down or you're almost all the way to the bottom of your rock bottom, but you're there and it's dark. This is where mine began. Very slowly, things chip away at you, and depression manifests itself in so many small things, so many very small things. And then they add up and they add up and they add up. And then the more that they add up, the less you do. And the less you do, the more regret you have. And the more regret you have, the more guilt you feel, digger the hole you dig. And then you couple that with the fact that you're a first responder, you're in the military, or maybe you're a family member of one of the first responders, a police officer's wife or a firefighter's girlfriend, or you're married to a paramedic, so you can't watch any medical shows with them because they're no fun. Including with me, because I'm the person that tells you, like, that's not real. I ruin them all. Ask my husband to tell you. Or you're you have a soldier overseas that you're worried about, and it affects everybody. It's not just the individual going through it. It's everyone they're connected to, because every action that you do or you don't affects them. So every time you take that shovel and you chip off a little bit more piece of that dirt to hide deeper, it affects those around you. It took me quite a long time to realize that, longer than it should have, and longer to understand the impact that I was having. It was one thing to grieve and be angry, but it was another to start having everyone pay the price tag, right? That's what they did. They started paying the price tag. They started, my depression affected them. And then came the time where I swear everything bad at my job would happen when I was there. Everything. And it was the little things. And then they became bigger things. And I continued to be angry. And instead of, I don't even know, grateful is not the right word. I don't know what it was. But I poured myself into my job. I had lost myself into my job so that I didn't have to deal with my children who were suffering. And that's sad. That's sad. I'm here to tell you that is 100% sad. I should have been there for them, and I wasn't. I should have been there for my husband, and I wasn't. My mom was the only mom he ever knew. The only mother he ever knew. Who loved him unconditionally. Unconditionally. Even when he messed up. She loved him. Welcomed him with open arms. He was her son, and he was grieving, and I wasn't there for him. I wasn't there for my dad. I wasn't there for my grandparents, their only daughter. I wasn't there for my uncles, my cousins. Nobody. Not my brother. No one. And as I started distancing myself, I started trying to separate myself from emotion with my job. And so the things that affected me, I didn't display it. I did, but I didn't. I would tell people I'm fine. I'd responded to a 6-week-old cardiac arrest CPR in progress call. I went as a supervisor with the crew and the paramedic that was initially dispatched to that call for assistance. And I was the one that told them to stop. I was the one that told them to stop CPR. Unfortunately, there were obvious signs of death. And what that means, for those who don't know and are watching this, that means that there was nothing that we could do. The baby was gone, and it had been dead for too long. Nothing that we would have done would have helped the situation. We weren't going to get a heartbeat back. Nothing of that nature. The baby had been dead for a while. And to no one's fault. To absolute no one's fault. So I don't want you to sit here and think, oh my gosh, somebody should have. No. It was a SIDS death. It was nothing anyone did. It happens. And I watched as that medic and that EMT fell apart, and I had no emotion. Not outwardly. As I'd flipped that switch off. And people say you can't do that, but you can. You flip that sadness, and it just becomes anger. It becomes irritability. So, if this makes sense to you, every small little thing you're irritated about. People ask for my most annoying question during those moments were, are you okay? Are you fine? Are you okay? Are you doing okay? I swear 90 times a day. And every single time I'd get asked that question, because people saw the outward signs of the fact that I wasn't okay. My answer was always, I'm fine. Which was a total lie. And they knew it. Body language speaks volumes, no matter what the words are that are coming out of your mouth. And I would just get angry. And I would push them farther away. Stop asking me. I'm fine. Just stop asking me. I don't want to deal with it. I'm fine. Well, those small little things like that. And because I didn't want to deal with them, I wanted to get lost in something else. It was like the computer or paperwork, or somebody else that I worked with was going through something. So I would pour myself into them just so that I wouldn't have to recognize or deal with myself. I wouldn't have to deal with my emotions. Every time somebody said, hey, I know something's wrong, I'm recognizing something's wrong with you, I called them a liar, it would turn into this fight. It would just get ugly. Like the people who were closest to me knew. They knew I wasn't okay, and I insisted that I was. And this is the beginning of that. And it kept going, and the little things kept adding on and kept adding on and kept adding on. So, you know, my biggest piece of advice to this point, okay, so let's back up just a little bit. I want to reiterate that the hardest journey that you're ever going to take and ever experience, even with me telling you my story, is the 8 inches from here to here. It is the hardest journey anyone can take. In order to dig yourself out of that hole, you first have to understand how you got there. And in order to do that, you have to own everything from the beginning all the way up until you start stacking that dirt, making them into stones and start climbing out. You don't dig it overnight, and you're not going to get out of it overnight. So please don't think that that is a possibility. And you know what? Sometimes those dirt steps, they crumble and you fall back down one, and that's okay. The point is that you keep going. I don't want any of you to end up here in a cemetery. I didn't want to end up here. And we'll get to the bigger reason why I say that here down the road, is we're not going to take this all in one shot. We're starting with the beginning. And this was my beginning, the death of my mom, pouring myself into work, the starting of pushing people away, not emotionally engaging. I didn't feel sadness. I did, but I didn't express it. I was depressed. I was angry. And that is all I showed people. All I showed them. And it got worse as things progressed. You know, there's hope. You're not alone in where you are. Identify your starting factors and how you got to where you are. And you know what? Sometimes they're not easy to identify. You know, I could have gone all the way back to when I was 16 years old and, having one person show up to my birthday party. I could have done that. Could have gone through my childhood. We all have bad memories of childhood that aren't not a fan favorite. That doesn't mean that's how you got here. Or maybe it is. Maybe those little tiny things helped get you to where you are. Helped get you to, that was your shovel. That was the start of your digging. Every little thing chipped away at you. Every little thing. I want you to take a good look. I want you to sit and close your eyes. And I want you to think. I want you to truly think back. If you're in that hole and you're starting to hit rock bottom, I want you to truly think about when you started to change. When did people start telling you that you were different? When did people start becoming concerned on whether or not you were okay? And I just think about it. Just think about it. It'll come to you. You snap. You hide. For me, it was my pajamas, my bedroom, and a blanket. I slept. It's all I did. I slept. When I wasn't at work, I was sleeping. It's all I did. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to see anybody for the span of 4 years. 4 years I lived there. 4. Okay? So maybe you've been there a little bit longer. Maybe you haven't. Maybe something major has happened and you just got there immediately. I don't know. I don't know. Start there. Start with trying to remember, close as you can, to when every single thing started to irritate you. The people who are closest to you, the people who love you, they're the little things. the little things. And they were dumb for me. They were dumb. Are you okay? Don't want to talk about it. It's never a good answer, by the way, because that just prompts more questions. So you always say, I'm fine, which, by the way, fine. Anybody ever told you the definition? Fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. That's what fine means. And that's what I was. My husband told me that once. And guess what? I got angry about it. So for those of you who just got angry about that statement, because that's what you say all the time, I'm fine, I'm here to tell you, you need to identify the fact that you're not. And it's okay. It's 100% okay. Early recognition is the point of this journey. Is I don't want you to get to a point where I was before I started to get better. Because you lose so much and it costs you a lot. And sometimes you can recover that and sometimes you can't. More importantly, I don't want you to end up here. Not visiting a loved one. Not sitting and talking with somebody who had a big influence on your life. Not putting out fresh flowers or just sitting and cleaning off a stone. I'm talking physically, like one with your name on it and an end date. I don't want that to happen for you. So let's start with identifiers. Where does it start? Okay? Figure out who irritates you the most. It's not real hard. I'm sure you can think of at least 3 people off the top of your head. At most 1. And just sit and think about it. Because they're paying a price too. They might not go through what you do. They might not see what you do. And they might not understand what you do. But they're paying the price for you remaining silent. Your relationships get affected. Everything gets affected. Your job, the way you take care of yourself or not. All of it. So we start with identifiers. People who say you need help, they're not saying that to be mean. Okay, I want you to hear me when I say that. They're not saying that to be mean. When they call you out on your crap, when you say that you're fine, and they say, no, you're not, there's a reason for that. Like, they can see it. Body language speaks volumes. I don't care the words that are coming out of your mouth. Your body language tells everything. 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 You're constantly looking down at your feet. You constantly have this look on your face. Like, I can't do it right now because I'm not in that super bad spot right now. But you know what I'm talking about. The long face, the bags under your eyes. You always seem sad or angry. You got the wrinkles on your forehead. They know you're not okay. The stress manifests and it gives an outward vibe. Your posture changes, shifts. The atmosphere changes when you walk in a room, and because you pour negative energy in. There are some people who can feel that. I'm one of those people. You know, I used to attach myself to that, to try, because I thought if I did that, I would help people. And then again, I wouldn't have to focus on my own. I could just then attach myself to theirs, and then people would think that I was upset because I cared about what was happening to them. It's a total crap, by the way. No, it's to hide my own negativity. You get real good at that. You get real good at saying you're okay. You actually start to believe it. You get real good at trying to portray that you are. And really what that means is that people get tired of asking you. They get tired of begging you. And I'm sorry that happens. I am sorry that happens. But it does, because they get frustrated. And because they feel like you're not listening. Because you're not. Because you don't care. You don't want to. There's a moment you start to care, and the moment you start to let your emotions in is the time that everything starts to come to surface. And you start reliving it. In order to move on, you have to relive it. You have to get deep down and dirty with it. And you don't want to. You don't want to, because the sheer thought of that gives you anxiety, makes your blood pressure go up, makes your heart rate start to increase. I get it. Been there. And if you're lucky, you can avoid the full-on panic attack. And it's usually with the end of a bottle. And I don't mean soda. I mean alcohol. been there too, okay? When you start medicating yourself with alcohol, set the bottle down and try to figure out why. I did. All the time I did. I didn't advertise it. It wasn't well known. I was really good at hiding it. Matter of fact, I was really good at placing blame too, by the way. But we'll get into that in another video. Today is identifiers. Where does it start? And this is how mine started, with the death of my mom. I couldn't cope. So I shut my emotions off and I became angry. And I became angry at everything and irritated at everyone and everything. And it only got worse. So please, I'm begging, sit down and try to figure it out close as you can. Whether it's the last thing that irritated you, or if you can remember where it began, start there. Start there. You have to confront your demons. You're not alone, and it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to yell. It's okay to be mad, but just get it out. And you have to start at the beginning. You really do. I'm proud of you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me. And stay tuned for the continuation of my story and my journey into the black hole and back out. You too matter. You can do this. And I believe in you. Toodles.